And we are going live here. Let's pull it up. Awesome.
Yay.
All right, so we're live tonight with Erin Herdler. I also forgot to introduce myself last night. I'm Michelle Chronister. I'm the social media manager for the Office of Natural Family Planning, and I am absolutely delighted to get to chat with Erin Herdler tonight. Erin is an NFP instructor, and she also is one of the presenters for The Wonder of Eve, and I'll let her tell you more about the rest of her life too. So welcome, Erin. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here too. It's fun to hang out and talk.
Yeah, definitely. I know. We'll just have to keep on topic.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's start just by you telling us a little bit about yourself, Erin, your family, where you're from, just all those fun stuff. I don't know. Are you from St. Louis originally?
I am from St. Louis.
Okay, so you can throw in like my school too.
I mean, St. Louis is really big. So technically I grew up in Imperial, so Jefferson County, and went to St. Joe's in Imperial for grade school. And that's the parish I grew up in. And yeah, so lived in Missouri my whole life, and I'm married to my awesome husband, Nick, and I have 4 kiddos. So
they're super cute.
Well, I think they're cute.
I think they're too.
They are the funniest people I know, that's for sure. So, Noah is almost 12. Jude just turned 10. Lucy. I saw a picture of my sister-in-law, Emily, across the room. Lucy is 6.5, and Samson just turned 4. So
how big they all are.
Yeah, they're a barrel of monkeys, and super fun. So they're awesome. And then I am a fertility care practitioner at Mercy South Hospital, and also teach a little bit at St. Mary's.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've been teaching for about 10 years, and love every second of it. It's awesome. I love that I get to love my job. So
isn't that the best? Yeah. And I always tell people, I'm like, everyone who works within the Office of NFP is just like such a fun group of people.
It is.
So you get to have that extension as well. Because I'm going to pull this next part up. Because you also work with the Office of NFP directly as one of our presenters for Wonder of Eve. So why don't you give us a little background on the history of that and how you got involved with that? And then we'll launch into talking about the actual program.
Sure. So the Wonder of Eve has been a work in progress for over 3 years at least. And it's really just a program that we've been in the process of writing. We're just now finalizing it. Actually, it's been kind of gone through a pruning process and are perfecting, and just teaching high school girls primarily just how good they are, how awesome their body is, how it works. Like, so we teach the logistics. We go through the phase of the menstrual cycle, anatomy and physiology, those kinds of things. But it's really tailored to the teens. So like, it's visually appealing, it's not outdated. And then we just talk to them about how their bodies works, how to appreciate their fertility. And just really our goal is to inspire wonder and awe and tell them how awesome they are. And what else did you ask me? The process.
How did you get involved with it originally?
How did I get involved in it?
Yeah.
Well, how did I get involved with NFP or with the Wonder of Eve, or both?
Let's do both.
Okay.
I actually don't know the answer to them. So.
Well, they're kind of tied together. So my passion for teenagers really comes from experience in youth ministry, and really I was introduced to NFP when I was a teenager, when I was 18. And so I'd gone to Catholic school my whole life, but really didn't know a whole lot about natural family planning and how it all worked. At least I don't remember learning about it. Nothing that stuck, at least. And when I was 18, I had basic body issues like most teenage girls go through, just self-esteem and those kinds of things, nothing like really crazy or serious. But I started having really bad menstrual cramps, and to the point where I was just miserable. I had to be on Vicodin for my pain. I would miss 2 days of school every cycle. And my youth minister at the time, him and his wife were going through a struggle with infertility.
Mhm.
And she recommended that I try and call her doctor and see if I could get an appointment, which I did. And I was able to, by the grace of God. And he recommended I start charting. And I'd never heard of this charting thing.
Mhm.
And learned how to do that. And about 3 months in, he said, I really think you have endometriosis.
Mhm.
And turns out I did. I had surgery for it. And my pain was nearly non-existent after that. And so I
That's
stuck with
amazing.
charting.
It's amazing you got that diagnosis so early on as a teenager.
Yeah, I think I was kind of a classic,
yeah,
classic
right?
case. But it's funny. So along with the health issues, as I continued to chart, I noticed that my perception of myself was changing a lot. I was starting to see myself less as just something to be looked at and more the power within my body. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but I was more than just that.
Yeah.
And as I started to see how my body worked and understand my fertility and the gift that was, I was in awe of it, just how intricate and complicated it was.
Mhm.
But I also started to understand my creator a little more and who I was called to be as his daughter. And so it really had a spiritual impact on me and affected a lot of decisions I made in terms of where I was going to go to college and what I was going to do with my life. And my passions really started to come out. And so it really blessed me. And I've experienced firsthand just how it can change you and to understand your fertility and how you're made and just really the beauty of it all. So it really set me on the path of becoming a practitioner. And so when Diane asked if I would want to help with this program that they were working on, I was wholeheartedly yes. It's just become a passion of mine, and it's so fun to go and to give this presentation and to see these girls' faces light up and to share with them just how good they are. No one's telling them how good they are. And give them the opportunity to experience what I did and just to see themselves in a different light, and they're not just something to be looked at or to be used for someone's pleasure, and that their body is really just awesomely made and wonderfully made, and they should be cherished. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. That was a great answer. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit specifically about the Wonder of Eve.
Sure.
You kind of told us like the purpose of the program. Can you explain a little bit what the actual presentation is, like how people can access the presentation? Where do you go to give this presentation? Who's the presenter, that sort of thing, and what's kind of the structure of the presentation? Just like kind of the overall like sales pitch for Wonder of Eve.
Sure. Okay. Let me know if I leave something out.
Okay.
So Wonder of Eve is basically a PowerPoint presentation that we bring to you live. And we've done it in youth groups. We've done it in health classes. We've done it in theology classes. We've done it even for MOPS groups. So mothers of preschoolers, so young moms. We've done it for college students. We wrote it intentionally for high school girls. And it has kind of branched into now 2 separate programs. We're also in the process of writing something called The Beauty of Eve that will be for young adult and college age and young mothers. So I can talk about that later. But
I'm excited about that one too.
So it's about an hour-long presentation. It fits the newest, the final version fits in under an hour so that we have time for Q&A. So it does fit into a class period time frame. And so we start with, I'll just kind of walk through the outline that I can remember, just to give you a little summary. So we start with the scripture, an excerpt from the creation story, and just kind of answering what is the Wonder of Eve. And we talk about, we read the excerpt from the creation story that just says, God said it's not good for man to be alone. And so he created the birds of the air and the fish of the sea and all those things. And then puts Adam to sleep. I'm totally summarizing and skipping ahead and not doing it justice, but puts Adam to sleep and forms Eve. And then when Adam wakes up, he says, finally, this one, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. was a suitable partner. And so we just make the point that finally creation was complete, and that
I've like goosebumps right now.
really God saved the best for last.
Exactly. Crown creation.
And then how understanding our bodies really leads to understanding who we're designed to be as women and our call in our lives. And then we just move into the 3 female superpowers, which is kind of our like framework. So the 3 female superpowers are ovulation, gestation, and lactation. So the potential for new life, the ability to grow new life, and then the ability to sustain that new life. And how this is something unique to women, and that men can't do these things. And so so that's unique to us, and to just take pride in that and to be in all of it. And then we focus mostly on ovulation and menstruation. And so teaching them how the sexual characteristics develop, and what the phases of the menstrual cycle are. I think a lot of times young girls just want to know, am I normal? Like what I'm experiencing is normal, and maybe a little bit afraid to talk about that sometimes, maybe with their moms or in their social circles, whatever. And so it gives them an opportunity to ask questions also, and to understand it through the lens of science. And so this is what's happening. This is how it all works. And so they can kind of evaluate themselves, like, is what am I experiencing normal? And then we go through, what about when things aren't normal? What about whenever you're in severe pain, or, you have really long cycles, or heavy bleeding, those kinds of things. What then? And then we walk them through kind of what a typical scenario would be when a young girl goes to her doctor and complains of these issues. And typically, which they usually already know, typically the treatment is artificial hormones. And then we explain to them how that works, and how hormonal suppression is supposed to help with the body. And then we go into, but there is another approach. And so then we talk about naprotechnology a little bit, and how a doctor who uses naprotechnology to treat young women, how they might approach things differently and get to the root of the problem. And then we always kind of wrap up and close talking about taking care of the whole person, and taking care of their emotional, spiritual, and physical health, and how all those are important, and having not to suffer alone if they are struggling, having a support network, taking care of their self emotionally, spiritually, remembering that they're beautifully and wonderfully made, and then physically, sleep and exercise and those kinds of things. So
very thorough. I mean, it's so much better than what I remember getting in high school and middle school. Yeah. Where it's just like, and because the other neat thing is that when you do this presentation, it's just all girls too, right?
It's all girls. Yep.
Which is, I remember all of my classes were co-ed, and it was the pinnacle of awkwardness. Just like,
don't look that
But then you also felt too, like, it felt like weird because there were boys there, and you definitely didn't feel like proud of yourself for having all this. And obviously the teacher wasn't going to stand up there and be like, women are amazing, boys, deal with it. Or like,
right.
But the cool thing about this program is it's all girls together. So it's this very like safe environment for girls. And it's just focused on empowering girls to be women. And just, naturally what's so beautiful and amazing about women, not anything they need to do to change themselves, but just to be healthy and flourishing. It's a really good follow-up to our conversation with Dr. Young yesterday, because that was this whole thing too, is like, women in and of themselves flourishing and healthy as they were created to be is the goal. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it's fun to see the girls, their mood when they come in. It's kind of like, oh, there's this thing that I have to sit and listen to, and when they leave, they're excited. And sometimes we have to cut it short with the questions and things, because it's almost like, I said this past week to somebody, it's almost like they've been waiting for someone to tell them this stuff, and then give them the opportunity to ask questions and to be interested in how they're made and to really understand it. And they didn't even know they wanted to know. and they leave just like excited and feeling just differently about themselves. Maybe not, you know, fully and completely, but that we started the process of them thinking about these things.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see that.
Do you feel like you have an even stronger passion for this, being a mother of a daughter?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, like, I love hearing about this. I have 3 daughters, as you know, but everyone else might not know. And whenever I hear about this program, I'm always just like, I'm so glad we're in this archdiocese where there's something like this that exists that can just help them know they're not alone on this journey. And I think especially, you know, the way it's presented isn't just like the biological stuff. And it isn't the spiritual stuff from the perspective of like, this is right, this is wrong, this is what you should and shouldn't do. It's just showing this is the beauty of who you are and who you've been created to be. And I mean, just, I love that it's such a positive perspective on it, while still, I mean, presenting authentic Catholic teaching, which I think is what parents are looking for, is a program that can present this as something that's beautiful and not a burden. You know, I mean,
right.
Being aware and appreciative of your fertility isn't a burden, it's a blessing. And I think that it can feel like a burden if it's something that's just like imposed on you. But I just love that it's like a fertility pep rally or something. Like,
yeah, and you know, we worked really hard to have it be uplifting and have it be, you know, I think that maybe in the Catholic circles, there's a lot of not doom and gloom, but just a lot of negative, like people just trying to fight for what's right. And in the process, we end up just like talking about how terrible the pill is and those kinds of things, and coming off kind of judgy and just inspiring fear. And we really tried to stay away from that, or to move away from that, and really focus on how good and wonderfully made we are, how good the body is. And if we can focus on how good they are and lead them to the truth about how they're made, and understand that, they're going to see the truth about contraceptives. If they know that there's alternatives, I think a lot of times women just don't know. Like there's all this whole generation of mothers. Right. So the moms of these teen girls who have contracepted because that's what they were taught to do. So there's this whole generation, and now they're teaching their girls to contracept because they don't know that there's anything else out there. And it's really our job and our privilege to teach them that there is an alternative, that there is good medicine, and that they don't have to get stuck in this cycle of, you know, just that there's hope and that there's goodness out there, and it's written in their bodies. So if we lead them to the truth about their bodies, that they'll be led to the truth about all the other things. We don't have to.
Yeah, totally. Right, yeah, because it's just like, well, this is logical, it makes sense, and it's good. And I think you're hitting on another point too, which is because I'd imagine, I mean, I know even growing up, like I grew up strong, faithful Catholic, and I had only ever heard of birth control as a treatment for something like endometriosis. And so I knew that if I would have had that problem, like I wouldn't have expected anything else from my doctor, even if I wouldn't have used contraceptive as like part of a marriage or whatever. But to treat it, I didn't even know there was any other kind of treatment until I started, you know, learning how to chart before I got married. And then I realized, oh, if I end up encountering this problem, there's a different option. And I imagine probably you encounter a lot of girls, you know, maybe who have endometriosis and are already on the pill because they're trying to treat endometriosis. And, you know, even their parents, like they don't know any other alternative for treating it. And from what I understand, I mean, the pill basically just addresses the symptoms, but it's not going to cure the endo, right?
Right. And, you know, I was telling somebody last week that there was a girl in one of the presentations, a sophomore, who stood up on the verge of tears afterwards. And she said, I've been on the pill for a year because I have PCOS. And my doctor told me it was the only treatment, and that I will never have kids. And it about broke my heart, because can you imagine at 15 being told you won't have children, and how that will affect the decisions you make, the way you live your life?
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, and it just, there's no hope in that. And so we talked afterwards, but she said the reason she was standing up was because she said, this makes me think that I should get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And that I should look into, maybe I shouldn't be on the pill at this point for this, and maybe there is another option,
Yeah.
especially at 15.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, and like you were saying, it doesn't really do anything for the actual disease. It's just hiding the symptoms. When she goes off the pill, the problem's still going to be there.
Yeah.
And so let's look at, I mean, that's really, I forgot to mention in the beginning, that's really what inspired this whole project, was that so many of our clients come to us, when they're in the process of learning natural family planning, whether it's because they're in marriage prep or they're dealing with infertility. They say, why wasn't I taught this years ago? Where has this information been?
Right.
After they've been on the pill for 10 years and suffered through it, or, or whatever the situation is, why were we not taught this?
Yeah.
And so that was really our inspiration for teaching young girls, because I think it's great to, teach engaged couples this information, or couples who are struggling with infertility and maybe going, seeing a NAPRO doctor for that. But really, it's not good enough. We need to be teaching them younger and giving them, they deserve to know. They deserve this information, and it's information that they don't even know they need.
Yeah.
But we have to give it to them. We have a responsibility to teach them. So that's the inspiration behind it all.
And it's just so empowering too, because I think we live in a culture where, having a menstrual cycle is like a disease. We have to get rid of it. I mean, like, that's the whole message of the culture, is this is just a burden. You need to get rid of this. And it's just so bizarre, because there's no other part of anybody's bodies that we're trying to just actively suppress and make not function properly. So it's just such a bizarre message to be giving young women, that
well, in no other area of medicine do we shut down a part of the body, really.
Right. Yeah. It's just so bizarre. But
I can empathize, because if they're miserable and they're dealing with disease or dysfunction of some kind in their body, they're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
They're gonna complain about it and want it to go away. So we have to offer them something different.
Right. Yeah.
So that they don't hate being a girl.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too, is it's I remember growing up and hearing about other people's periods and stuff like that. And you just think, of course, being in excruciating pain during your period is normal, or, being miserable or having other various PMS symptoms is normal. But it's not. And it just doesn't even occur to young women that there might be a different way to view it, and a different way to experience it. And I mean, that's just what I love so much about the Wonder of Eve, it's this positive message about how this could be. And that if it's not a healthy experience for you, that there are treatments out there, and that your health matters and your flourishing matters. And this shouldn't be something you just suffer through. So
absolutely.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to check in with our team and see if we have any questions.
Sure.
For you. If not, I'm happy to keep chatting with you. All right, let's see if you have any questions. Before I forget, how can people get the Wonder of Eve brought to their parish or youth group? Or I know it's high school sophomores and up, right?
Right. So like I mentioned earlier, we are working on, so there's kind of two branches of the program. We've focused mostly on the Wonder of Eve, but there is an option to have the Beauty of Eve, which is the one I talked about earlier with a little bit older. So that would be for MOPS groups or young adult groups. But the Wonder of Eve is primarily for high school girls. And if people are local and want it to come to their youth group or their classroom, or a homeschool co-op or whatever the group is, if you just have a group of friends that want to hear the presentation, they can contact the Office of Natural Family Planning, the Archdiocesan office. And that phone number, I have it written down here, is 314-997-7576. And so that's for local people if they would want a presenter to come and do it. If you're watching and you're not local, and you're interested in, the program is in the process of being copyrighted, and will be available to purchase to fertility care practitioners or doctors. So you will have to be a fertility care professional to present it, and have an understanding and be able to do those things. It comes with the commentary. And that will be available. We don't exactly have a timeline right now, but if you want to be put on the list to be contacted when that is available, you can also call that number and let the NFP office know that.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. We do have a question here. When is the ideal time for a girl to begin charting?
Shoot. My daughter's 6.5, and I keep saying as soon as she starts her period, I'm going to have her track. There's no reason not to just go ahead and start from the beginning. But I also do it, I teach this every week. And so it's always at the forefront of my mind. And so I think as soon as cycles start, really, I think is a great idea. At least to be tracking, maybe not as in detail as maybe one of the methods teaches, but to really be aware of their fertility and to be gaining in knowledge of it. And so I think as soon as girls are cycling, it would be good. And really teaching girls that it's typical to kind of have irregularity in the beginning. They don't need to jump on, the pill or something just because they don't have, their cycles aren't exactly regular all the time.
Right.
It takes a little time for the body to get into a routine. So yeah, that would be my answer.
No, that's great. And I think it's good too, because I think a lot of us, when we hear, NFP or charting, we assume that, okay, it's just for if you're, planning a family, but it's also about appreciating your fertility and being aware of that part of your body. So
yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits that come with it for your health. So yeah, absolutely. Don't wait until you're needing to family plan.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We had a question about not being local and getting the program, so you already answered that. Next question is, what should a girl look for if she's worried that things are not normal? Like, what signs should she be looking for? And then also, like, who does she follow up with if she thinks there's a problem?
Sure. So the biggest thing I would say, pain. If she's in pain every cycle, it kind of goes along with what Dr. Young was saying last night. If she's suffering, if she can't function, if this is really affecting her quality of life, she can't go to school or can't go to work when she's on her period, that would be the biggest red flag to me. Also, PMS symptoms would be something that would be a motivator to start charting and to seek help, because PMS can be seriously miserable. And a lot of women suffer, and I think are told that it's just part of being a woman. You should be crazy the week before you start your period, or feel horrible.
Like, yeah.
And everyone in your life around you is miserable. That would be a good motivator to look into seeing a medical consultant and talking to your doctor about what can be done.
Yeah, so that would be the next step then, is you would want to reach out to like an OBGYN. I think, especially in St. Louis, we share this frequently, but I'll have the team pop a link below to our list of all the different NFP-friendly NAPRO doctors we have here in the Archdiocese, because there are a ton for us locally.
Yes, and we have, I believe she's the only pediatrician in the United States who is NAPRO trained, Dr. Elizabeth Abraham. She's fantastic. Particularly if it's a teenager who is concerned about some things, I would maybe go there first to see, because she's a pediatrician. And she's obviously, if it's beyond her scope, she'll refer to an OBGYN, but because
I've talked to her before, and she talks about too, like, charting just for the sake of having awareness, not necessarily like they have to get in there and like learn a method or anything like that. And I know she's really passionate about this very issue and about working with teens.
She is, and she's fantastic.
Great, awesome. Okay, so before we let you go, can you tell us a little bit about the Beauty of Eve?
Okay, so the Beauty of Eve involves really all the things of Wonder of Eve, slightly more mature presentation. It does touch on church teaching, so like the purpose of sex, and we talk a little bit more about the practicalities of actually using natural family planning. What else? it's really great. I love doing that presentation because it kind of hits at my stage of life. And so it's fun to engage in conversation with these young adults and women who are maybe just in the throes of new motherhood. And a lot of them don't know. They don't know that there's other options out there.
Right.
And so just being able to talk about the relational aspects of natural family planning and kind of how it can nurture a relationship also. So, yeah.
What's the age range for Beauty of Eve? So
I would say
it's just mainly like sophomores up through
seniors.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say newly graduated from high school up to, it really could be seen as like an intro to natural family planning also, without actually going to like an introductory session. So that might be the first. If you're wanting a group of people to be introduced to just the world of natural family planning, that there is other things out there. It does cover like the health piece, but then also the sexual teaching piece also.
And it sounds too like it's also more female specific versus like, I mean, if you were to go to an intro session for NFP, it's like the couple is learning it together often and it's focused on them and their relationship. But it sounds like Beauty of Eve is something where it's like, is it a group of women then? Is that primarily?
Yeah, I would say women. I mean, a man could attend, but it's definitely like
geared for women,
woman empowering. And so
power.
It might be a little awkward for that dude to hang out during the presentation, but he'd learn something. So, yeah.
Get him on board. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna let you go, Erin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll make sure to share all the information for contacting about Wonder of Eve and how to get a hold of us and bring us there. I'm sure that we can work with you even in the midst of all the COVID craziness. You guys are a creative team. You'll figure that all out too.
For sure. Yeah.
So great. Thank you so much for joining us, Erin. Stick on for a minute or two after we log off here. Everybody else, please, 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 please tune in and spread the word for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we are having Donna Whiteley on, and she is our on-staff therapist with our Enkindle Infertility program. So as everyone who follows this page knows, we have Enkindle Wednesdays over on our Facebook page. And so every Wednesday, we're sharing resources related to infertility. If you would call into our office, Donna is the person who would be able to help you most directly. So we're really excited that she's able to spare an evening to be with us and to talk to all of you, answer your questions, and just put a face to our Enkindle ministry. So be sure to check in to that tomorrow and bring your questions and share with friends and all of that. But
she's
Erin,
so great.
She's awesome. And she's just the kindest soul ever too. I just
like probably one of my top 10 favorite people. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So thanks again so much, Erin. It's been an absolute delight talking to you. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a good rest of your night.
Thanks.
All right.